when we get going. Anyway, guys, we're going to be bringing you guys the MLB NBA NBA show here on QLTV. It looks like Sheets is sitting back down, so I'm going to pop him back in right here. And Sheets, there you are. We had to get started. So football as well.
Yeah, it's my mom's birthday today, so I had to. So wishing happy birthday to my mom. That's
awesome. How many years is your mom? That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, she is 76.
Awesome. Well, congratulations.
76 and recovered from COVID, by the way.
And recovered from COVID. How you like that? Yeah, this is a tough family over there.
Yeah.
Plus, you got the son going off. You got the son going off to UVA soon. I mean, man, there's a lot of stuff going on in the old Sheets household, huh?
Yeah, we are New York tough. You're New York tough and Syosset soft. That's what they call us.
Yeah. I'm trying to actually look right now to make sure this video is actually on our page right now, because for some reason I'm not seeing it pop up on the QLTV page. Here we go. It looks like it's just popped up now. It takes a few minutes sometimes. Sheets, we're going to be doing NBA and MLB today. And before we get into all of it, I think that the best way we can do this is probably go through, because we're going right up to NBA lock, we probably can do MLB first and then jump into NBA at the end when we, in case there's any late news, and also we can, be right and fresh in people's minds.
Sounds good to me.
And we got Chad saying he's been waiting on us. Chad, we were a minute late, but we were here for you, buddy. We're ready to get it going. So we're going to go game by game in baseball. We're going to talk a little straight bets. I want to mention real quickly, please like and subscribe on the BetQL. Also, you can get 20% off of everything at BetQL with code BobbyFi. We gave you the goods yesterday. We did tell you that I told you that OKC, if you're going to bet somebody, if you're going to bet them to win. They did win. I didn't want to take a stance on that game either way, but I did have a strong take on the other one, and I thought Denver was going to I'm sorry, not Denver, that Miami was going to beat Milwaukee, and they did. And I was pretty happy with that and good DFS results. So we're back getting right into it with MLB this time. Sheets, I know we both had decent days yesterday, but what is your sort of like overall assessment of this MLB slate? I know basketball's been a little better for you than MLB lately, huh?
Yeah, no, you guys are in for this show are really lucky because because Bobby and I did a full kind of like review back and forth for like a while, like earlier today, and it gave us both, I guess, an opportunity to kind of rethink things a little bit. So you're getting much more of a polished look, I think, at the slate than if you listen to us earlier, because I was really kind of all over the place. I didn't know whether I was going to be all in on the Mets or what, and we found some other kind of pivots, I think, of teams to go to. We talked about maybe Atlanta, Houston, the Dodgers really, really just kind of off, I would say off the board, but I guess in today's slate, off the board. And then Cleveland a little bit. And I'm kind of settled on those teams. What I did for DraftKings was I did a decent amount of the Mets. I ended up doing that. And then I kind of filtered in, I didn't do a lot of one-offs. I did a lot of like maybe 5 3s and 4 4s. I did a decent amount of 4 4s, just keying on those kind of teams that I just kind of mentioned. And the other thing that I was a little bit too much of a wimp about, it was hard for me to avoid playing at least some of the San Francisco guys. I ended up going to a little bit of Dickerson. I mean, that was just way too cheap for me, so I'm going to use him. I'm going to end up using maybe not going to stack, but some of Longoria, some of the maybe even Belt, a little Crawford or whatever it is. I just felt it was just those guys usually get priced up just so much more in those types of spots. That's where I kind of changed from wherever. But do you want to go game by game? You want to go overall slate?
Yeah, we'll go game by game, and what we'll do is we'll just talk. We'll do it in sort of like a speedy manner. We'll probably try and finish it in like a half hour or so we can talk some NBA.
Okay.
All right, so let's go game one right now, right off the bat. I'm going to go just with my sheet versus, so you might be a little different than the actual DraftKings sheet. I'm gonna go just with how I've got it set up right here. We've got Chicago, by the way. We have a 9.5 run total. Chicago's a favorite. Again, I don't love betting regular season baseball myself games, except for when I have an extreme take, and usually I actually do pretty well with that. If you do want the good information, again, betql.co, code BobbyFi, 20% off. This game is the one that I think, we talked about early, and I actually thought the Cubs would be too popular and all this stuff. I don't think the Cubs are going to be popular anymore when we got through this whole slate, nor are they my favorite team. I'm treating this first game as basically a cross-off for the most part. If I need a little piece, Eric Gonzalez from Pittsburgh, The Chicago outfielders, Chris Bryant's back and he's cheap, but I mostly am crossing this game off, actually.
I still am playing the Cubs on FanDuel, but I'm only playing a couple of lineups over there. And I'm not getting to any of them on DraftKings. And part of it is because I just wanted some of them, and I just, that's just where I ended up playing them. That's the best I could describe it. And I did not play pretty much anybody else. I did play a little. I did get a couple of Eric Gonzalez's in there. I did get a couple of one-offs of Eric Gonzalez throughout my DraftKings lineups.
I played him in my 7-7-7 yesterday, so I was pretty happy with it.
Yes.
But I think we can. I just think this game, there's better spots, there's better hitting conditions, there's worse pitchers, and there's better actual lineups than these guys are. John Diaz, sorry the Cleveland stack didn't come through. I didn't end up pulling the trigger on the Cleveland stack myself, but we might be having that conversation again today. It's one of those days. Sorry to hear it. I know that some people were high on them. I'm sorry that didn't work out. All right, we're going to jump over to the next one, Sheets, which is Washington Philly. As far as I've got, I know you can look at these a bunch of different ways. This one is interesting. We have two excellent pitchers. We have an extreme hitters umpire, which I think is important for DFS reasons. I'm not going to bet this game either way outright. I don't think there's any reason to. I don't see anyone as having that big of an edge. I think Nola is a better pitcher, so you could just make that argument. And Corbin can get blown up easier, but not going to play the hitters. And right now I'm flirting with whether or not to play Nola on FanDuel. I don't think you need to play him on DraftKings. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so the stuff about the umpire, I mean, how do you deal with that? The reason I ask is, I regard Corbin as somebody who is, has more control issues than Nola, for example. And does that mean that if you have an extreme hitters umpire, that's going to affect Corbin? I guess it means it's going to affect Corbin more than Nola, right?
Yeah, it should. I mean, he has more control issues in general. He's actually got a much tougher lineup to face that's more patient. So the actual matchup looks good for Nola. Like, there's not a lot of great lefties in that order, except for once you just get around Soto. But with an extreme hitters umpire and an adequate lineup, not a bad lineup. Cabrera is actually decent too, as you mentioned earlier. I'm struggling with it a little bit. I'm struggling with basically a 1v1 on FanDuel with their guys, with Nola and the guy we're going to talk about, Framber Valdez, who's going to be pretty chalky on both sides. So it's a struggle. I
have three lineups over there, and it's really just the worst kind of lineup construction over there. Like, I have the exact same, pretty much the same hitters, and I have three lineups: one with Corbin, one with Nola, and one with Valdez.
I mean, it's all fair. That's all fair, well and good. And the thing is, I'm playing well. I'm not playing much. I've got my daughter in town, which has been awesome, by the way. She's doing school behind me. It's a new world, but you have to do school at home now. So she is. But we're going to be heading up to Santa Barbara a little bit later. So I'm not playing as much of one lineup, and I'm genuinely having that discussion with myself. So if any of you out there are struggling with it, I don't have that specific answer for you yet. On DraftKings, I don't think you need to play Aaron Nola. I do like his ceiling in general, so I probably will end up playing him on FanDuel in my big lineup. But I'm definitely going to make a pivot in the $55 to just to have the other combination, right?
By the way, I got some of both of them on DraftKings too. I do. I have pretty much an equal amount of both of them. I have like 20% Corbin and 20% Nola.
I'm sure if I was playing more, that's exactly the route I would take. I just don't happen to be playing enough to where that's going to be.
I mean, the rest of it is just stock full of those, Valdez and those 6,600 guys, and a couple of pre-sacks and
right. Well, let's get over to your Yankees and talk a little bit about that. And you know what? Again, I really think between the Nola Valdez conversation specifically, and even Corbin too to some extent, although I think that both the other two would make a little bit more sense if you're going to play like one lineup. I think that you can I really do think that it's like a 50-50 split for me right now. I think that I'm going to end up playing Nola, though, just to give it away. All right. We're going to get over to Tampa Bay and New York. So this is an interesting one. Like, I'm still worried that I'm not going to be playing Yankees hitters today because I think that it's actually a reasonable idea, even though I don't think Richards is all that bad. I just like the prices and I like the situation on DraftKings. I like the DraftKings pricing especially. But I really think this game is going to be somewhat of a cross-off for me too, Sheets.
Yeah, I like if he plays. I mean, he let after basically just breaking breaking Garrett Cole into two pieces. Choi actually left the game in the ninth inning with like a stomach virus or something.
Yeah, and I played. That was my guy too. He was my guy. He was my first baseman in my every non-Cole lineup.
Yeah, and he actually has good BVPs in this spot too. If he plays, he would be the one guy I would play on Tampa. He's still really cheap, and I will.
He's one of those guys. Every time I look, and Tampa Bay's like got a home run off of a good pitcher that's been thrown at them. It's always like Choi. Maybe he's just good against good pitching. And
I happen to have Brandon Lau in a lineup on FanDuel just because he just fit in perfectly with everything else. Just kind of those a one-off over there. I did think that at some point Tanaka's going to be a good play, but there's just too many better options today.
Agree. Or I don't even know if there's better options. There's just other. I mean, honestly, Tanaka's going to get ownership tonight, and I actually think it's strictly because there's a lack of anybody to feel too comfortable with, except for Valdez. And I actually think the Valdez projected ownerships are off. I think he's going to be like insanely high owned.
What are they projecting? 65?
I've been looking around at 40s and 45s and 30s on FanDuel. I think it's going to be more like 40 on FanDuel, 35 on FanDuel, and then like 70 or 65 on DraftKings in the high buy-ins. That's high buy-ins at least. Not for all the buy-ins. All right, this is an interesting one. Atlanta, Boston. I really think that this has an argument. Oh, we didn't mention that game yet. Atlanta, Boston. He's always one step ahead. John Diaz has always got the game that's about to come up. Plesac is a guy we both like a little bit, so we will get into that.
Do we have a lineup yet for Atlanta?
We've got William Howard asking about Red Sox. All right, we're getting to that game. We're on this game right now, guys. A lot of questions I'm trying to figure out at once. I don't know if I guess we had the Atlanta lineup's out. It's
we do not have Acuna again. Okay,
it looks like Acuna's not in it, so that actually gives everybody else a better spot in the order, and they are cheap. No, John, you're not distracting. Sorry, not you. It was just funny because Sheets was asking the same question that it was sort of I was trying to get to from William Howard. We're all good, and it's awesome. You always you're always one step ahead is what I was saying. Anyway, it wasn't an insult at all. All right, we're talking about Atlanta versus Weaver and basically a bullpen, which is a garbage bullpen for Boston game, but it's still a bullpen game. And initially, yesterday, this would have been ultra chalk. It's not going to be ultra chalky today. It's interesting, Sheets. Where do you stand with the Atlanta in regards to some of these other stacks?
Yeah, I like them just the same as the others. Honestly, I like them just as much as Mets, Cleveland. They're a little different type of stack than in Cleveland. Maybe you have to get paid more for some of these guys, but for some of the Cleveland guys. But I like all these. I like these guys. I like Freeman, obviously, but then there's Ozuna and Swanson and Riley and Duvall, even Camargo in the 8-hole. You know what I mean? Like I think you can play these guys easily, and the Red Sox bullpen is bad, and we'll just keep going after them, I think.
Yeah, the only reason I'm not playing this team is because I have a specific build I'm looking at for my big lineup on DraftKings, and I really like having this cheap outfield that I've got.
Oh, that's cool.
So I don't want to play these cheap infielders because I literally don't need the value for anything. Even if I wanted to play Nola and Corbin, I just don't need this much value. But I do like Riley. I like Riley a ton. I like Ozuna. I like Duvall. I like Camargo as a part of a stack. I actually think Camargo, not as a stack, but like as a mini stack even, it would work. And then obviously Freeman. I tend to play less Swanson because there's other shortstops I always prefer, and he's just not as good as they are, and he's priced the same because he's having a good year. I also am not going to play Travis d'Arnaud at 4.7. I'll just find the money for Rhys Hoskins, and I'll take Hoskins straight up against I don't mind. That's like I didn't get into that earlier with Philly, but I don't mind taking anybody to try and home run hunt off of Patrick Corbin.
I'm with you.
All right, and you like? Okay, so I have no interest in the Boston side of anything. This is a garbage lineup. They're garbage. They might put up a number sometimes. It's fluky when they do. I don't think that they're any good. I like Anderson. That's where I'm at. I'm much more on the Anderson side, and I'm sort of still baffled by why no one is talking about this kid. And
they're really, they're really afraid of the incredible power of Yari Munoz, Sue Lin, Jonathan Arias. That these are the types of guys that take down World Series championships.
Oh, I got a guy scratched for my original. Yeah, you're right. It's pretty funny. But what do we have against Anderson here? So I'm kind of confused because this guy just, against a much better Yankees team, threw 90 pitches in his first outing. He's a top prospect. He had 6 Ks in 6 innings, only allowed 1 hit, which was a home run, only walked 2 guys. I can get behind this guy at 6,800. Why am I alone in this?
I don't think you're going to be alone in it, as we discussed. I think that is going to be one of those plays where it's going to be hopefully not, but a kind of a sliding scale buy-in to ownership type thing, where I think that people, well, first of all, I think people are going to want to pivot off of Lindholm, you know what I mean, in some respect, and it just seems like such a natural price pivot that I think people are just going to naturally be drawn to it. And then especially when they see, and I bet you when they see the lineups, like this updated lineup, I bet you if you reset the projections on all these sites, I bet you that Anderson gets a little bit more of a bump. So he's going to probably show up in more of the optimizer plays. You know what I mean? So I do think he's going to get some degree of ownership. I don't think he's going to be completely overlooked. I will also say, by the way, that, I mean, look, we talk our trash or whatever, but, to say maybe the Boston lineup overall is trash, but, just keep in mind, I mean, if, Rafael Devers is really good. And
Verdugo is really good.
Verdugo is really good.
Good, but he's extremely overrated.
Who, Verdugo?
No. Like, people talk about him like he's one of the best hitters in baseball, and I still can't figure out why. Guys had one good year. Show me something.
It's so funny because you were doing a thing the other day where you were listing like the top 10 hitters in baseball, right? On Twitter.
Yeah, not one of them.
No, you didn't list him, right? And I was like, what about Devers? As I'm typing, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not biting.
That's not going to be a good. He's a good hitter. Don't get me wrong.
I have an hour to look at the responses. Nope, sorry, I'm not doing. But so anyway, I like Anderson as well as a pivot off of Lindholm, and the Atlanta hitters that we discussed.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still kind of confused by this Anderson thing in a way that's making me question myself, actually. So I'm gonna have to figure this one out because
look, he's a weaker play than Lindholm, but I think that just the matchup that's it, right? But like the matchup, I guess the stadium. Let's give the stadium part of the credit because Boston's obviously a better hitter's park, but like I don't know, man. I don't know that he is a worse play. Like Lindblom has never in his career had as many points as Anderson did in his only game. Like, I mean, what I'm saying is that I think that he's got more. I think I trust Anderson has at least a chance to put up a ceiling. You know what I mean, and to put up a really good score. I think Lindholm. I really do think Lindholm is safe. I mean, get the matchup or whatever it is.
You got to get the name right. It's Lindblom, by the way, for those of you guys out there.
What did I say?
It's Lindblom, I believe, right?
Okay.
I'm just making sure because I've done this before. I entered the wrong names and actually played guys in my lineups when I've misheard them. All right, when I first started, of course. Yeah, I personally don't agree. I don't think Lindblom is a better play. I think he's got a lower ceiling with maybe a higher floor.
Yeah, I think he's definitely has a higher floor, but a lower ceiling. That's what I'm. No, Eric, we're going to get to NBA shortly.
And by the way, playing Lindblom, for all the you guys who want to do it on FanDuel, I'm just going to warn you. The guy doesn't score FanDuel points because he doesn't strike anybody out and he doesn't pitch 6 innings ever. Yep. So if you want a guy who doesn't strike anybody out who's not going to pitch 6 innings, that's your
man. Right. Okay.
No, Eric, good question. Eric, we're going to get to NBA right after this. We're going to close it up. We're going to get
10 minutes more max for baseball. So let's get through this.
So we're getting through it. All right. Ready for the next one. It is on my list. And we're going to have to revisit this Anderson thing. I still am I'm becoming obsessed with this play. He's in my main lineup right now. The Mets and Baltimore. We don't know who's pitching yet for the Mets, or I don't have. I had Lugo. I don't know. I don't know who's pitching right now. I have to get the updated starting lineup as we speak. Sheets, have you got anything new on this? Because I keep getting different guys on different sites.
I just still see Gerardo.
Gerardo. That's what I had before. Sorry.
Or Gerardo, or whatever you want. That's still who I see.
Okay. All right. Well,
to me, it doesn't matter.
It only matters in some sense. Yeah, you're right. It probably doesn't matter enough.
To me, it doesn't matter because I'm playing some Baltimore. Like we're
I think you should. You called it earlier, Sheets. Like, go do your Baltimore thing because I think it's actually a really good tournament argument.
Yeah. So first of all, I love the Mets guys. I'm not a. It's funny, Eric. I went through this phase like earlier this morning where I try to talk myself into the fact that Wojo was a decent play at 5,500, then I'd kind of talk myself out of it. So I feel you. I do. I feel the draw, but I just didn't quite do it. I think the Mets are just all tremendous plays. I think they're all going to be really, really low, high owned. Between Nimmo and Conforto is going to be just uber chalk, I guess, and Alonso and Cano and McNeil. I think they're all going to get ownership, but I think they're all really, really good plays against Wojo. But I feel as though that Baltimore, it wasn't too long ago they were putting up runs on a regular basis, and they're just so freaking hopelessly expensive, some of them, that they're going to get like 0% ownership. And so I have some lineups where I have Cisco, Nunez, and Santander, all three of them, which could be pretty badass. And if you felt like stacking them, I mean, they did put Mullins in it at the leadoff spot at 3,100. You know what I mean? So you could kind of make that happen if you wanted. And even this Ruiz in the 7-hole, it's probably going to project terribly. But I don't know, if you want to play something with like 10,000, 100 million people in it, I think Baltimore is going to be in play for me.
Yeah, I'm into it. I like the contrarian thinking. I think it's much better. And I hate to do this to Eric because I didn't mean it to point him out, but I think it's much better than trying to find like funny spots like the Tigers. I was going to say, actually, I'm not trying to say that because he just said the Tigers stack against Lindblom. But I think it's a much better spot because you actually have an offense that can put up some runs with a good total here against a really like. I just think it's a really good spot. You're not going to get players this low owned, and it's not like there's a huge run total difference here. Like it's climbing. It's getting close to 5 now. I can get behind it. I just personally don't think I'm going to because I'm not playing enough lineups, but I totally get behind it. I also like the Mets a lot, but they're going to actually get more of the ownership. The one thing people will do is they'll play Coors and they'll play anybody playing Baltimore, and that is not a bad strategy. But the problem is everybody does it. So I'm going to leave the Mets a little bit alone. I like other places better. And getting into the Tigers and Brewers game with Lindblom, well, it seems like a great, contrarian thing. You don't need to be that contrarian on this slate. And while occasionally you might get it, I don't think we've had like 3 home runs in a game from the Tigers this year, from the entire team. So I think you're betting on something against a team with a good bullpen and an adequate starting pitcher. Adequate. I want to emphasize the adequate. So I can't bring myself to play any of these Tigers because they suck. If you're going to play anyone, I would be Scope, and he's not cheap. You're not getting enough power for me to play the Tigers, but I definitely can get behind the Brewers.
Yeah, the thing about baseball is that oftentimes there are like several teams that you're really, really nervous about not having enough of. And for me, there are 3 teams like that. One of them is Milwaukee. I'm going to have some of them, but I'm not going to have. It's definitely a spot where you can just see them going off. For whatever reason, though, every time I try to attack these Detroit bullpen games, they just kind of hang in there. You know what I mean? Like it's a little annoying if you want to know the truth. But yeah, I mean, Gamble, Yelich, Smoke, Garcia, Sogard, even Narvaez, and not to mention Hira's like the best second baseman in baseball, pretty much.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, they're certainly in play, but you can't play everybody.
Yeah. So. Here, I'm going to jump back to this thing. I'll answer the question. Sorry, I read a question and I'll get to that one in a minute. If I was playing more lineups, I would have some interest here. I think Smoke is interesting on both sides. I like the price. He's been hitting the ball well. Obviously can hit from both sides of the plate, so it doesn't matter too much who the pitcher is. You could worry about Gamble getting pinch hit for, but he's 2.6K and leading off 2.6. He's got a little bit of pop too, and nice night last night with 3 hits. Narvaez 3.4. Like there's guys to play here. Even Garcia's cheap at 3.3 to play with the Tejera and Yelich makes it you want to stack. But it is a bullpen-ish game, and to be honest, I'm in love with the stacks I'm in love with, and I'm not going to let anybody talk me out for those ones. So I'm just not going to end up having much of them. But they were one of the first stacks I wanted, and I'll just tell you, like Atlanta, the Mets, Milwaukee fall just behind the 3 stacks that I really want. So that's it. And I'll give it to Eric Johnson because he got both of them, two of the 3 that I love, and Sheets I think is going to agree with me. But yeah, that's sort of where I'm at. And are you crazy for liking Boston? Like you can play anybody today. It's not like they have an unbeatable spot, but I like actually stacking against young pitchers. So normally it makes sense. I think their lineup sucks. I think that you're paying for fakeness. I don't think there's anything this team has done all year long that has ever made them valuable enough to play. Maybe they had one big night or something, which could always happen. I don't see any reason to stack them on a pretty good hitting slate, in my opinion.
I agree.
All right. So Cleveland and KC, let's do this one quick. So I actually really don't understand why no one else is into Plesac, and it was brought up by, I want to get the follower's name right, who brought him up earlier. We do have Jamie Campbell in here too. What's up, Jamie?
Plesac revenge on the world.
Yeah. Why? So who was it who said Plesac? Anyway, the Plesac call is really interesting. It might have been Eric too. Why is no one on this guy? It's like, you come on, you hear it, you listen to other people.
He'll get 10%. I mean, it's not like he'll be zero owned. I mean, he's fine.
His projections are much lower than 10%. My question is, why isn't he the standard guy to play alongside that Framber Valdez tonight?
Because everybody's playing freaking Lindblom, and that's
So is the 1,700 between Lindblom and Plesac, is that worth it?
I don't know. Lindblom is everybody's darling, man. Whenever he pitches, he gets 10% more ownership than you think he's going to get.
He gets 10% more ownership, so he gets 10 fantasy points to match it. That's
I'm with you. I understand.
I just don't understand it, and I feel like it's actually making me feel like I'm missing something. If he's on a pitch count, then we're talking. Okay, I appreciate that. I did not get the pitch count information because I don't know. I knew he was coming back, and I knew that it obviously been a while, but I had heard 90 pitches, so that makes perfect sense. Eric, thank you for the answer.
What did he say?
I had 90 pitches in my pitch count, but he said that he's heard he's on a pitch count, and I'm betting that he was. But what I heard early is that no pitch count or 90 pitches. And the more I think about it, would they really let him come out there and throw too long? Now, if there's any team that would, it would be Cleveland. But that actually makes some sense. Okay, I still think you want a piece of him. By the way, it's not a tough lineup for him to get through. You've got one of the lower run totals on the slate.
I have a few. I'll have a lineup or two with him for sure.
Yeah, I'll throw him into something. And here comes the big part of the conversation. Let's play us for some reason, and some of them will be high owned, but the ones I like the most won't be. And let's play a ton of Cleveland Indians.
We'll play Reyes. We'll play the cheap guys like your Naylor and Naquin, and then you can afford Ramirez and Lindor, and
Yeah, if you need a punt catcher, play Roberto Perez.
I have like 40% Roberto Perez, by the way.
Oh, perfect. That's what you should be doing. I love it. I mean, and then you've got the middling guys. I actually don't think these numbers are. Maybe they're accurate on Cesar Hernandez because second base is kind of weird, but little weird. I love the Reyes. Eric Johns, I don't know if you watched our video or from earlier. I doubt it, but we were all over the Reyes. Where I'm into it. Reyes is going to be in half my lineups. Not just my two. I mean, I have my two big ones, but then I've got my little subsets. He's going to be in like all of the things. I think he's hitting one out too tonight. So I like these guys, and I don't think that. I think you want to try and stack them with Lindor or Ramirez. I don't think you need Cesar Hernandez, but you can include him too. But I mostly like this team 2 through 7, and then you can include anything else for stacks. But I actually think you can play any of these guys as one-offs, including Naylor. If that might be a little bit bold for some people, but I like it actually. I have Naylor in one of my big buy-ins right now, but he's in a little mini stack. All right, so that's one of my top 3 stacks. I'm still debating between the other two, and I think that I'm feeling better and better about my original favorite stack, and we're going to get to that one in a minute, Cheats. You ready to move over to Chicago and Minnesota? That's not
quickly. White Sox, Minnesota. If I were playing like a whole bunch of lineups, I would get a little bit of both these these teams hitting, but I'm not playing enough lineups to get to. That's all I'll say about this.
Yep.
Except that Nomar Mazara is very cheap.
Nomar Mazara is very, very cheap, and even though he's struggling, this guy has real power from the past. I mean, look, anybody, I actually don't mind on, if you wanted to get Pinier. I just think there's a lot of good offenses today that doesn't feel like the day where I need to reach, but the White Sox can always go off. So can the Twins. This is one of those games, and we don't play the pitchers either. If you're playing at 150, I think you want, at least 5% exposure to these lineups. I wouldn't play it too much more than that. Maybe 10% if you really want to get frisky, but these are not priorities on this slate, but I do like them in general. So take that for what you will. Texas and Houston, 9 total. Texas Houston just an absolutely just beyond massive favorite. They're literally like, oh man, they're minus 285. Wow. Yeah, I think that this game is pretty simple. You play Valdez and you stack Houston.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with. I mean, obviously Valdez is the best play on the board with high ownership. But we talked about this. You don't really care too much about the ownership of the pitches. You'll take your 20 points and go home. Um, as far as full stacking them, I would say that what's difficult about it is that you're taking, Altuve has been super ice cold as somebody you probably want to play him, in a stack, which makes it a little annoying. But I do like Springer. I love freaking Brantley's an incredible play, I think. Dustin, I mean, these other guys that kind of stink. Actually, they're okay. I don't know how I prioritize you. You going to play Toro?
So I think you prioritize the outfielders pretty easily. I think the best play is Springer by a long shot.
Yeah.
There's no reason Springer. I don't care how much, how much he struggles. First of all, he did hit a home run the last game. He's hit 2 in the last week, whatever. The guy is one of the best hitters in baseball. Don't let any short-term stuff tell you differently. It's a great matchup between Garcia and Lyles coming in for the long part of the game. I always love picking on Jordan Lyles. It's not going to change today. Yeah. Brantley's too cheap to go with him. And then Tucker. So I like the 1-3-5. What I'm trying to figure out is how do I do the rest of it? I think Correa would be my next favorite, but I don't love the price on him. And I actually think he and Swanson are kind of an interesting conversation. And I like the other shortstops. I just don't love it. I don't like playing Gurriel ever. I think it's always a mistake on big hitting slates to play Gurriel, even on stacks. So that's what happens. You end up stuck with Altuve, and that's the problem. Unless you're playing on FanDuel and then you want to play Reddick, or unless you want to play Garneau or Toro. I think you can just punt Garneau, and that might just be the final answer. That's probably what you use with the outfielders. That's the way I'm treating it. And then I have individual infielders I love at so many spots that I can basically play whoever I want because Tucker, Springer, and Brantley as a combined outfield is pretty darn cheap. You play Mookie Betts and anybody else, you're already going to hit that same salary. So that's where we're at. These guys are asking for basketball. We'll be there right soon, guys. We'll get there. And Eric Johnson, no, I would not play Joey Gallo as a one-off tonight. It's fine. There's no reason. You're not doing anything special. There's plenty of guys who are going to be 1% owned. There's nothing there. For me, but I love Gallo in general. Don't mind him even against lefties. I just don't see any spot why you take him in a bad hitting left hitter's park against a guy who's great against lefties. I just can't do it. Sheets, next game, unless you have anything else to add?
No. San Francisco, Colorado is your next one?
Yeah.
I really hope that these guys don't go off lower owned than I thought. There are a lot of places that people can go to play, and I don't know if I just feel like a chump if I didn't get some of the San Francisco stuff, just in case. I mean, I know that the idea is that it's supposed to be really chalky, but I don't know. So I am going to play a couple of lineups with some of these San Francisco guys, that being Dickerson, Belt, Longoria, even Wilmer Flores, whatever. I'm not going to pay the $5,800 for Yastrzemski, but I am going to play some of those guys. That's where I'm at. And on the Colorado side, Hilliard's still really, really cheap. Story's going to be pretty popular, as will Arenado, but, for good reason. They're good plays. Daniel Murphy's a good play. So I am going to get some Colorado. I am going to get some San Francisco. Certainly not as much as probably the field will get, but I'm not throwing the game out. Yeah,
I'm just going to point out a couple, just some really quick things. I know Arenado hasn't hit a home run in 2 weeks. Whatever, it's 2 weeks. It happens during the baseball season. But a lot of these games are mostly in Colorado. So these people who think it's automatic, these guys are going to hit home runs every day when they're in Colorado, got a week for Story since he's hit a home run. I happen to like these guys, and I can get them in a lot today. So I think I might do that. Just because I can get them in, and I actually think, while they're going to have ownership, but I don't need to worry about it compared with the rest of my lineups. And I think that they are significantly better than everyone at their positions. So that's just where I am a little bit. I actually like Murphy over on the Colorado side. I don't have any interest in the Giants for whatever reason. I just don't want it. I can't look at it and think it's going to be less than 25%. I can't see it. So I'm personally going to just sort of avoid the situation there and save it to a couple guys from Colorado. And my favorites right now are Story and Arenado.
Sounds good to me.
I don't mind, by the way, McMahon. I don't mind any of the I don't mind anybody else you want to play over here.
Except Tapia.
What's that?
Except Tapia.
Except Tapia, yeah. Tapia I don't play, even though, look, I've played him on 5-man stacks before. I play mostly 4-man stacks, and I don't play him on 4-man stacks.
All right, let's finish this up.
We got Troy leading off tonight. So there's a guaranteed another 30, 40 fantasy point game or whatever it's going to be.
I was going to say another guaranteed 30% owned guy. So Arizona finishing up, Arizona, LA. I think I finally figured out, I didn't finally figure it out. The reason why the Dodgers always go low owned also is because you're never exactly sure who's going to be in the lineup by lock. So people are like, "Ooh, is this going to be Chris Taylor?"
Well, in all fairness, the Dodgers have always released their lineup before lock, but it is late. You're right. It's like one of the last ones to come out. It's not Angels late, where it's like 8 p.m. Eastern. But yeah, it is.
But I think that I like them. I like AJ Pollock. If Turner plays, if Turner really plays. I don't know about Turner. But I'll play Bellinger lefty. I'll play Mookie if I can get him in. Again, it depends who plays. But Will Smith, I like his catcher in a stack. Kiki, Chris Taylor, everybody.
Yeah, I'm into it. This is my third of my 3 favorite stacks and guys who I'm trying to get in here. I don't like I mentioned it to you earlier that part of the advantage of playing the Dodgers this year is a little more than other years is that we've had these warm weather games early in the year, which you usually don't get till late in the year. Well, now the problem is the late in the year is starting to come, and we've got it in LA here where I'm literally down the street from the stadium. It's going to be 68 degrees tonight as opposed to where it's been 81, and it's a little different. I'm just saying, you don't get the same quiet hitting conditions like we've been getting. And it takes a little bit of interest out from me, but I still have plenty of interest. I think in order, Pollock, Betts. I actually like Kike, even though I think Taylor's going to be the obvious one who bats up earlier. I'll take Kike at the lower ownership, lower. They're both going to be low owned anyway. I guess if Taylor's batting 30, he might get higher ownership, but maybe. I don't know. No matter what, I'm not going to worry that much about ownership. Pollock, Betts, Bellinger, Kike, Will Smith, Corey Seager, somewhere in that, something like that. All 6 of everybody in the lineup makes sense to some extent, depending on who it is. But those would be, I guess, the order of how I would sort of slice it in terms of my favorites.
None of them are going to be owned at all.
Yeah, you're right. Well, I think Mookie is going to be 10% owned. I think that
at 6,100.
Yeah,
okay.
You can afford him easily tonight.
Okay.
Because I think people will look at, do I want Blackmon or Yastrzemski? Mostly they'll pick that, but they'll also say I can play Mookie. I think there's enough people who probably just 10%. Still not that much, but nobody else will be.
All right.
And yeah, so that's it. So that's basically the sum up for baseball for us. And again, I wouldn't bet on – there's no game that stood out to me as a clear, easy betting line. It would have been Philly over Washington, but the problem is I just think you're what are you, -160? It's just too much. You're giving up too much. So I'd probably leave all the straight bets alone. Moving over to the NBA. Again, while we do that real quick, guys, remember to like and subscribe. Please go to BetQL. If you do sign up for anything, use the promo code BobbyFi. Get 20% off. And sign up for BetQL. These people are doing some really good things, and let's be a part of this together. All right, jumping into the games in the NBA is going to be – okay, this is going to be tough for DFS, but for regular purposes, Sheets, I'm just going to ask you real quick before we get to either game. Do you have a betting interest in either side?
Yeah. I think that Toronto plays better. So I would take Toronto in this game for a betting angle. Boston looked way too much in control, and they look way too good for their own good. I think Toronto fights back. I think Toronto gets the W. Denver, and now I have a pretty ridiculous take of the Denver-Utah game. So in the Denver-Utah game, this is the way I bet. This is the way my thoughts are. I'm kind of into the under in that game.
Okay, that's interesting. You're under on Denver-Utah?
See, that's exactly right.
And what's funny is that, but Vegas thought that too. I don't understand why this one is 10 points. We'll get into this in one second. I just want to address real quick things because there's baseball things. Eric, I think Gausman is a mistake to play today, but I certainly understand it. So I don't think the worst thing in the world. What are you laughing at?
Because I'm 100% sure now that Denver-Utah is going to go under. Because my son heard me in the background, and he comes and he stares at me like I just lost my freaking mind.
It's like 216.5. It's really weird. That's pretty hilarious. All right. Well, and by the way, yes, Todd Lang, I do like Muncy. When I say I like all the Dodgers and I just don't list them in the top 6, doesn't mean I don't like him. I mean, honestly, you're picking the Dodgers lefties for power. It's him and Seager are right. This is the same. Bellinger's ahead of both of them. It's not a huge difference in reality. I have a very confused take about these spreads today. So, first of all, that stood out to me. Both totals seem lower than I would have thought, and I would immediately have just thought of betting both overs. That was my first thing. I have no idea. And now I understand if we like Toronto to come back, and I was ready to make the pitch. Maybe Toronto comes back and plays better today. All this stuff. Why the hell are they favored? Why the hell are they favored? And the truth is, I think there is some BS going on where, for whatever reason, the home teams are actually getting the spreads, which is so insane. So I'm not going with any of it anymore. I don't care if Toronto does show up. I do think they will. And I'm betting Boston. I'm just going to bet on the team who's the better team, who's going to win the series. So if you tell me it's straight up even, like, why is Boston not favored in this game? What have we seen that makes Toronto a favorite?
Well, the good news is you got the hottest wagerer in all the country on your side.
What's that?
Because my son has just been on fire the last several weeks. He's hit 5 different 5-team parlays.
Oh, geez.
He's all over Boston and the over in the Utah game. So you guys will all be together.
All right, well, let's get into the actual DFS part of it, and because I don't understand the spreads being the way that they are, but honestly, I did expect Toronto to come back and make it. This would be a tough game, but this is weird. All right,
you thought that was Ben. Now you get to talk me off of fading Jamal Murray, so that'll be fun.
I'm totally going to do that. We nailed it, by the way, yesterday with our. I mean, if I played a bunch of lineups, I'm pretty sure I would have hit the net somewhere because I played 6 lineups and I had a top 20 in the million-person tournament. I was deep. I was 30th in the 555. All these things, and all we did was just fade Giannis and Harden, and it was the answer.
Yeah, we did good.
All right, well, let's get into this one. Okay, so on the Boston side of things, look, obviously everybody's in play on 2-game slates. My favorite plays right now are Tyson Brown on DraftKings. How about you?
Yeah, so I think that people are going to chase Robert Williams, which is fine. Makes sense. But I like Tice a lot. He's my favorite. He's my favorite Celtic on DraftKings. And then second, I actually like them all. I do like Kemba and Marcus Smart and Jaylen Brown. So I'm not as much into Tatum on DraftKings. But yeah, I think Tyson's a really, really strong player.
I'm sort of with you on everything you said. And the thing I found that myself doing, which based on everything that's happened so far would be a kind of a monumental mistake. I have hardly anybody from Utah and Denver in my first lineup on DraftKings. And you're going to think it's weird, the guys I do have, because I have 0. I don't have either Jamal Murray or Donovan Mitchell on DraftKings.
Yeah, neither do I.
Okay. And that's a little, weird, obviously.
Actually, that's not true. I lied. I have 8% Donovan Mitchell.
Okay. I'm good with Kemba. I just didn't get there the way my builds went on DraftKings. I do like him on FanDuel. But yeah, Tyson Brown are the automatic ones, and then Smart is the other one I'm sort of flirting with. I actually really like Smart in this series. This is a tough guy series. I don't know. There's something about this. I just feel like I really like him here. I mean, I think the rotations are going to be really tight. So that's sort of the route I'm going. Also, he's shooting guard eligible, and I've got a lot of point guards that I like today. So that's the problem. Who do I run back in a Boston stack with Fred VanVleet? The number one guy you should be running them back with is Kyle Lowry. And I'm usually the VanVleet guy. But today it's Kyle Lowry day. It's the day where Kyle Lowry is going to be the most important person on this team. VanVleet is definitely just behind him. And the guy I will be skipping is Siakam. I'm sure he will have a good game at some point. Remember those people who tried to argue with me, and I know some of you are watching right now, about how much better Jason – listen to how hilarious this sounds now and how hilarious it'll sound by next year. Pascal Siakam is so much better than Jason Tatum. Why do people even talk about this? Why can they compare the two? Well, I'll tell you right now, Pascal Siakam is on a different planet than Jason Tatum. I hope maybe he's on Jaylen Brown's category, but even that I don't think so. So that's just my personal take. I love this team as a whole. I like Anunoby, by the way. I just think you've got a real secure amount of minutes. You could easily do nothing with him, but you're going to have tighter rotations. And I think this is where we start to see, okay, if Toronto wants to come and try and do something a little different, I know they played him a lot of minutes last game. I think you might see an explosion from Marcus Gasol. 30 fantasy points. Right? Yes, I guess we won't play Marcus Sol then. So I guess
My dog chimed in that he doesn't like Marcus Sol, but I have 30% of him. I think that's a really, really good play. I guess off the board, guys, I'm playing a little bit of Wanamaker.
Okay.
It's 2 games. You know what I mean? I'm just
of course you got to do something.
You know, it's 2 games, and I'm playing a decent amount of Marcus Sol, and I am getting a little bit of the Robert Williams. You know, he's 3,100, right? I mean, he was really active, and he was, you know, pretty good. I think Cantor's not. You know, I think Cantor's out of the series at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Who knows how they're going to like. It's like if you played Williams the other day, people would have laughed at you because you've clearly fallen behind Cantor on the thing. But as I said during that series, I thought that might just be – it might go series by series. So if this is the Robert Williams series, you've got a good argument here, bud. Like maybe this is actually a better play than even people are into it. I don't think actually like a ton of people are pulling the trigger. I don't think you're talking about like 30%. You're talking probably 15 or 20% ownership. Go for it.
I was expecting it to be really chalky. Okay, interesting.
I don't think so. I actually don't. Maybe I'm wrong. I mean, at least my initial – I ran these – yeah, I don't know. I mean, I could be wrong. We've had some wrong things, but I'm looking at multiple sites projections as well as sort of what I use as a combination of both of them, and it basically looks like they're pretty similar. I mean, you don't be surprised if he only plays like 10 minutes, by the way. Like that's on the table too. I would prefer, I think. I don't know what I would prefer. I don't like playing he or Wanamaker, but I guess that Robert Williams would be the better play. But I don't know. Because Wanamaker's a guard. I guess that's my reasoning.
The other guy that you didn't mention on Toronto that I really, really like playing, he always has a ceiling and he's always really active, is Norman Powell.
I knew you were going to say that, yeah.
Yeah. And again, you know, it's a 2-game slate, but I might play him on a bigger slate. You know, I like him a lot, you know, and, you know, he's always, to me, he's like he's a little different, but he's like a Jordan Clarkson. He tries to make the most of his minutes whenever he gets in there. And, yeah, so.
No, I can see it. You know, it's really interesting because I actually have a lineup that I built that I'm struggling between. Like I actually don't have enough room for him. I've got just enough for either Anunoby or Royce O'Neal. And he's 100 more on DraftKings, so it's a little bit. I like him. I just can't seem to quite get him. Literally can't quite get him into my big lineup. It's really close. But yeah, I can get behind it. I mean, look, it's a high variance game. I'm going to bet on the guys who play minutes and who close. So I give him a little bit of the edge. And I also feel like this is where I'm going to sort of contradict myself over here. And I can't believe I'm going to do what I'm going to do. But all right. Utah and Denver. I like Denver to win this game and win the series now. I'm pretty horrified with how poorly they coached their team at the beginning. And I think they finally made some adjustments, which was basically let Jamal Murray be the greatest thing ever. And that was their adjustment. I think that the odd part is that Jamal Murray and Donovan Mitchell are not going to be like insane chalk. Like they're going to be owned. Don't get me wrong. But for a 2-game slate, you'd think with what they've been doing, oh, these guys are going to be 75% on. Well, that really can't happen. You're going to get them at like 30%, probably, maybe 40, which I think leaves Jokic down in the 20s. So I'm siding with Jokic.
If Jokic is in the 20s, that's like criminal. I mean.
But look at the builds. Like if you play any of the other game, it gets trickier. I'll just tell you right now, it's definitely a.
I don't know. I have like 75% Jokic.
I'm in on him. So I have 100% on DraftKings.
I mean, this is my logic behind fading Mitchell and Murray. I mean, this can be so naive. Okay, I mean, you'd like to think that these coaches like have a semblance of a brain. You know what I mean? And can see what everybody else is seeing. These guys are just going off. Just take the ball out of freaking these guys' hands. You know what I'm saying? Like if Mike Conley beats you, I mean, beat you. You know, if take the ball out of Murray's hands, and you know, if you want to live with Jokic running the offense, fine. But it wasn't like Murray was doing anything that impossible. He came off a pick and roll, and they left him wide open half the time. It was ridiculous.
Right. So
yeah, that's why I'm doing it. And they price these guys up pretty good, and you'd have to think that again, this is very naive of me, right? That there's going to be some coaching done that makes it so that these guys don't have a chance to just go crazy.
Yeah, I agree. I agree somewhat. I don't know. I also don't think they're going to shoot the 70% or 67% or whatever the hell it's been from the floor.
You think so?
I just don't see that happening. But shoot, man, I'll tell you what. I'm not loving it. I mean, on FanDuel, it's different. Like, you can play those guys no problem, you know?
I don't know if I want to play him there either.
Well, what about Mitchell at 8,500?
What? Okay, so what?
All right. Argument for Mitchell, because that's getting a little cheap, right?
I guess.
All right.
Sure.
I guess I'm not getting a little bit cheap.
I'm just still sore. I'm just still sore from playing Donovan Mitchell like 6,200 and busting there, all season long, and just I don't know. We'll see.
The question of the weird part is what I've got currently in my build right now is I have Jordan Clarkson in my main lineup.
Yeah, why not?
I am counting on basically there's an easy path, and that's just basically early offensive struggles. The weird part is I'm playing him over Joe Ingles, who's much more secure, who's going to close.
Sure about that?
That's what my original thinking was.
I have way too much of him, but I just can't avoid it.
Who? Clarkson?
Ingles.
Oh, Ingles. Oh, you're saying, but I said Ingles is going to close, and you don't think he's going to?
Yeah, that's what makes me nervous about having so much of it. It's hard. I mean,
Ingles versus Clarkson is interesting because it should be Ingles. It should be the answer.
You could play them both. You could play them both. No, I mean,
well, I'm not playing them both because I'm playing one lineup here, and I'm trying to get 5 minutes to go. So in the meantime, I'll answer a few questions. Is it Ibaka day? You can take a shot with Ibaka. There's no way I'm playing him.
No.
Is the one guy I like from the Denver-Utah game the best? It's Jokic.
I'll go back to what's his face, by the way, who seems kind of afraid to shoot now. But I'll go back to Michael Porter Jr. again.
Yeah, they've sort of eliminated him from a lot of the stuff. But
he's been playing. He got like 15 rebounds in the last game.
But he doesn't close anyway. He's not going to be. He's not a part. He doesn't start. He doesn't close. He's not a part of their main lineup. That worries me. Gary Harris coming back is not going to help that any. He hasn't put up a fantasy game since then.
I don't know, dude. I'm looking at my FanDuel lineups here, and whatever my whatever thing that shows you the percentages is kind of phased out right now. Mm-hmm. I got a lot of shooting guard combinations without freaking Mitchell in it. I mean, I got a lot of Smart Van Fleet, a lot of Clarkson Smart, a lot of Clark. You know what I mean? I don't know. I got some Norman Powell's.
Yeah, it gets to be a weird sort of range a little bit. Like I don't know. I guess the issue is with me. I'm trying to figure out, do I want to make myself play a guy like Brad Wanamaker? And I really don't. Is the answer.
I don't want to play Kyle Lowry, but there's so few options.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think I've got to finish up my build real quick because we're about to run out of time.
All right, sounds good. So let's
we'll bounce out of here, guys. We'll answer any real quick questions at the end, and I'll answer these for a few minutes while I'm doing this. Is there a negative correlation between Clarkson and Mitchell? Yes. Doesn't mean it can't work. Just means yes. There's definitely a negative correlation.
Oh, I've got one for you, real quick, Bobby. What do you think about the power forward over at Denver, Grant Millsap?
Wait, say that again.
Grant Millsap.
Grant is the answer for sure.
Okay.
Just Millsap's been like faded out of the rotation at the end at these last games. All the minutes, Grant's playing all the minutes. Like he could accidentally get there today pretty easily. And I'm starting to wonder if maybe he's actually a better play than Ingles. I think it's Ingles. I don't want it to be Ingles. I really don't. There's nothing that makes me feel weirder. But do I have to play Robert Williams? And I don't like this. My whole plan was to avoid all this stuff, and now I'm back right.
My son has never seen Joe Ingles make a shot.
Joe Ingles has won me so much money on FanDuel because no one ever used to play him, and now they do. All right, with Jaylen Brown, I guess that might be the answer for me. Is that maybe I eliminate Jaylen Brown? No, that's not the answer. I really like Jaylen Brown. Wow, I'm really struggling with the very end of this build. Porter Jr. or Millsap on DK. Porter Jr. for me. Sheets.
Yep.
Same for Sheets. Who we got at 6,900 now? I mean, this is like leaving me in the most bizarre land I could possibly ever want to be in. And it's not great. Doesn't feel good. I wish I could upgrade from the Marcus Smart thing. You know what? The thing is, the Smart, like, shoot, man, you just got no choice here. I think that I'm going to have to go with Jingle and Joe. I'm picking Ingles over Clarkson. Don't let me regret it later. I will leave Clarkson in my $100 buy-in, but I'm picking Jiggling Joe in the big one. Ugh. Okay, I think we're about ready to get out of here, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll get some more people. Hey, spread the word. Get your friends in here. Ask questions. Like, we want this to be a back-and-forth show. I know it can be a little tricky right before lock, and I know not everybody's watching just on YouTube, but really get the questions in. We love that coming up. We love it when you guys talk about that stuff. We love being able to really figure these things out with you. Cheats, any final thoughts before we get out of here on this, Tuesday, Monday? What is it?
Toronto and Utah under.
This guy, for a guy, all of a sudden, Mr. like negative, Mr. Antagonist, or what, I don't know what the word is, contrarian all of a sudden. But yeah. Okay.
With sports betting, I've always been like that, though.
That's true. I guess that is true. All right, man. Well, for me, I guess I'm going to say tonight in baseball, for some reason, if you feel like you need to play Zach Plesac, make sure he's going to throw enough pitches. And right now, we don't think he's going to. So anyway, for Sheets, for Bob, for me, for everybody at BetQL and QLTV and all that, thanks so much for tuning in, guys. We are out of here.